The world debates the military response. 19 days since the worst terror attack in Israeli history. Its leaders are trying to frame the stakes, today laying bare the brutality.
Beneath the pitch-black desert sky of northern Mexico on a seemingly tranquil night, 2,800 American soldiers rolled in armored convoys, unaware that they were about to face one of the most audacious ambushes in history. As headlights pierced the horizon and dust swirled like a storm, thousands of cartel vehicles armed with devastating firepower charged with a relentless determination to annihilate the American battalion. But what could possibly have led such a massive, seemingly unstoppable convoy straight into a deadly trap? Drop a comment below and let's dive into the fierce desert battle where fire, steel, and strategy determined the fate of thousands of enemies in just a matter of hours. Beneath the vast desert sky of northern Mexico, 2,800 American soldiers in armored convoys made their way along a supply route under the cover of night. Leading the charge were Abrams tanks, followed by Bradley and Stryker vehicles with support convoys stretching far into the darkness. What was expected to be a routine movement quickly took a turn when the first warning came. At 2:46 a.m. satellite data picked up something alarming: dust clouds stretching for miles and thousands of vehicles moving at high speed. A colossal, heavily armed cartel convoy was heading straight into the desert, and it was headed right for them. Dust surged in towering sheets like a sandstorm hiding the advancing force. From the ground, American scouts peered through the haze, catching glimpses of headlights. Dozens, then hundreds of lights stretched across the horizon, signaling the chosen battlefield. At 2:52 a.m., the attack came without warning. A violent barrage of RPG fire ripped through the night, obliterating the lead platoon. Engines roared as cartel trucks surged forward, their headlights flickering wildly in the chaos. Tracer rounds cut through the dark night sky as the American forward units fought back. Heavy machine guns blazed, sending volleys of fire, but the sheer scale of the assault was undeniable. The convoy wasn't disorganized. It moved with the precision of a flood. Thousands of vehicles surged forward, turning the desert into a fiery battlefield. Gunfire echoed, engines roared, and explosions rocked the ground. In less than 90 seconds, encrypted reports were sent to American headquarters. Drones circled above, locking onto the convoy, while AWACS aircraft relayed the full scope of the attack. The order came down: engage with full force, no retreat. What the cartel didn't realize was crucial. This desert valley had been meticulously mapped as a kill zone. Mine corridors had been laid along the anticipated routes, and artillery grids were already pre-plotted. The American forces had transformed this stretch of desert into a deadly fire trap. At 2:56 a.m., the kill zone erupted. HIMARS rockets screamed across the sky, their blazing trails slicing through the darkness. They slammed directly into the convoy, annihilating the lead vehicles and bringing the advance to a sudden halt. Seconds later, M777 howitzers unleashed a relentless barrage, their shells landing squarely in the heart of the formation. Fuel trucks erupted into towering fireballs, while pickup trucks were torn apart, shrapnel ripping through their engines. Overhead, a 10 Warthog aircraft swooped low, their 30mm rounds cutting through pickups and armored vehicles, transforming them into burning wrecks. What had once been a fierce, charging convoy now collapsed into utter chaos. By 3 a.m., the desert silent when the night began was alive with fire steel and explosions. The convoy had walked right into the trap, and now the American forces were ready to execute what they had meticulously prepared for weeks. The order was given, and across the American battalion, every artillery battery that had been silent until then opened fire in perfect unison. M777 howitzers hammered the desert floor with coordinated salvos, their shells landing with deadly precision. HIMARS rocket systems redirected their fire deeper into the convoy, cutting the formation in half. The impact was immediate. Trucks flipped over, engines ignited, and tightly packed vehicles collided as explosions ripped through the ranks. At 3:05 a.m. high above the chaos, MQ-9 Reapers and tactical drones loitered silently, their infrared beams scanning the battlefield for targets. The drones marked them for artillery and aircraft, guiding the destruction. Whenever a cartel pickup truck attempted to weave through the wreckage, a drone would tag it, and within seconds a shell or missile would obliterate it. Even vehicles that veered off the road into the sand were quickly spotted by circling UAVs and destroyed with pinpoint precision. The convoy had no safe angle of escape. The roar of jet engines pierced the air, cutting through the explosions as the first A-10 Warthogs dove into the valley. Their 30mm guns erupted with thunderous burst streams of tungsten rounds, shredding through trucks and armored vehicles. Each pass obliterated multiple vehicles in its path. Some pickup trucks disintegrated instantly under the concentrated fire, their crews thrown into the darkness. The desert floor trembled as relentless attack waves tore through the convoy's forward wings. Survivors scrambled to escape, but artillery locked onto them with brutal precision. The trap was now fully sprung. The once organized cartel formations crumbled into chaos. Vehicles reversed, collided, and became entangled in the burning wreckage. Others blindly charged into mine corridors, setting off hidden explosive charges that sent shockwaves of sand and fire into the air. Entire sections of the convoy disappeared in plumes of smoke. At 3:13 a.m., the cartel's mortars and makeshift rocket launchers launched a desperate counterattack toward American positions, but counter-battery radar pinpointed them instantly. American artillery redirected its fire, neutralizing each launch within minutes. Artillery crews swiftly repositioned before precision strikes leveled their positions. Every counterattack attempt was met with immediate retribution, crushed faster than it could be sustained. The kill zone closed in tighter. Abrams tanks moved to secondary firing points, their 120mm guns engaging surviving vehicles at long range. Bradley vehicles provided crucial support, their autocannons sweeping across the convoy's flanks. Infantry dismounted, securing outer perimeter control and occupying ridgelines to ensure no one could escape. Every element of the battalion operated in perfect coordination. Artillery, armored vehicles, air forces, and infantry hit in relentless waves. At 3:18 a.m., cartel fighters abandoned their vehicles in droves, fleeing on foot into the open desert. But above, drones tracked their every move, relaying coordinates to circling helicopters. Apache helicopters swooped low, launching Hellfire missiles and unleashing bursts of 30mm rounds into the fleeing groups. Survivors scattered into smaller clusters only to be hunted down one by one. By 3:20 a.m., the convoy, once as fierce as a sandstorm, had been reduced to a shattered field of wreckage. Do you support the fight to destroy these cartels? If so, comment number 2. If not, comment number 5. Burning trucks shattered armored vehicles and silent guns sprawled across the desert floor. The American forces had unleashed their full combined firepower, and the convoy crumbled under the unyielding pressure. But the battle was far from over. The cartel, refusing to relent, prepared a desperate counterattack. Even as flames consumed hundreds of vehicles surviving, cartel commanders gave one last order: charge. Mortars fired blindly into the night rockets streaked toward the American formation, and dozens of trucks roared forward at full speed, determined to break through. Engines roared as pickup trucks armed with heavy machine guns and recoilless rifles charged straight into the American infantry positions. It was a desperate bid to break through the steel wall closing in on them. Trucks advanced in waves, headlights blazing, gunners firing frantically at the ridgelines. From the ground, it seemed like pure chaos. But through the American targeting systems, everything was crystal clear. Every vehicle was tracked, every approach mapped. As the first wave crossed the midpoint, the response was swift. Javelin missiles streaked forward, their warheads slicing through engines and turrets. In-law teams fired in pairs, hitting vehicles in rapid succession, igniting fuel tanks into massive fireballs. The charging formation collapsed instantly, debris piling up as more missiles tore through the convoy. At 3:27 a.m., Apaches swooped low over the battlefield, Hellfire missiles locking onto moving targets with deadly accuracy. A single strike obliterated a cluster of 3 trucks, leaving only charred frames behind. Bursts of 30mm rounds shredded fighters trying to dismount and charge on foot, cutting down any who attempted to escape. Above, drones constantly relayed coordinates marking every survivor and ensuring no counterattack went undetected. Whenever a vehicle attempted to veer off the road to escape the overwhelming firepower, it was hunted down within minutes. American infantry teams now engaged, directly taking out fighters who dared close the distance to small arms range. Machine guns unleashed a relentless barrage while grenades detonated across the desert floor. Cartel fighters tried to regroup behind makeshift cover-firing mortars and RPGs at armored vehicles, but their rounds either fell short or were intercepted by active protection systems. Abrams tanks advanced methodically, their guns reducing any vehicle daring to approach to rubble. A cluster of cartel armored vehicles attempted to form a wedge in the center, charging through with raw force. For a brief moment, it seemed they might breach the gap, but artillery responded instantly. M777 howitzers hammered the road with direct fire, collapsing the breakthrough before it could cross the valley floor. Survivors retreated in panic, only to crash into wreckage and minefields. What had once seemed like a breakthrough quickly turned into another steel graveyard. By now, the convoy was beyond saving. Trucks burned in every direction, pickups were torn apart, and mortars silenced by relentless counterfire. American infantry advanced behind armored vehicles, tightening the encirclement and sweeping the valley floor. Apaches and A-10s continued their assault, ensuring that no regrouping could take place. What had started as a massive defiant convoy was now reduced to scattered groups of fighters, each isolated and surrounded. By 3:40 a.m., the counterattack had been decisively crushed. Survivors abandoned their vehicles, fleeing into the dunes, relentlessly pursued by drones tracking them with thermal imaging. Some dropped their weapons and surrendered without hesitation, hands raised high against the backdrop of burning wreckage. Others scattered in a frantic panic, vanishing into the desert night. The kill zone had fully closed. The counterattack not only failed, but it was annihilated before it could even reach the American lines. The roar of artillery and airstrikes gradually faded, leaving only the crackling of burning debris echoing across the valley floor. What had started as a massive cartel convoy of thousands of vehicles was now a desolate wasteland of shattered steel. Drones overhead streamed live footage showing trucks reduced to ash, pickups overturned, and burning and shell craters marring the desert floor. The kill zone had functioned exactly as planned. At 4:10 a.m., the damage was confirmed. Forward observers began counting over 1,500 cartel vehicles were confirmed destroyed or abandoned. Dozens of captured armored vehicles lay in ruins, their crews either dead or scattered across the battlefield. Ammunition trucks exploded in spectacular fireballs, leaving blackened craters where once formed convoys had advanced. Fuel carriers burned steadily, thick columns of smoke rising into the dawn sky. Survivors disorganized and leaderless fled into the dunes. Some surrendered while others discarded their weapons and vanished into the desert. The convoy that had seemed invincible at midnight was completely eradicated by early morning. Within the American lines, casualties remained minimal. Defensive grids, precision strikes, and overwhelming firepower had stopped the assault before it could ever close in. Engineers advanced methodically, clearing mines and unexploded ordnance to create safe lanes through the wreckage. Abrams tanks repositioned on high ground, scanning for any cartel reinforcements. Infantry swept every ridgeline, ensuring full control of the battlefield. Command declared the valley sealed. No cartel relief forces could recover equipment or regroup. By now, the desert was a vast expanse of burning wreckage stretching to the horizon. The once mighty convoy had been reduced to ruins, vehicles jammed at choke points piled up in debris fields where artillery had trapped them. The valley floor resembled a war-torn scrapyard. Turrets were blown off, engines melted, and vehicle frames twisted beyond recognition. Overhead, Apaches continued slow patrols, scanning for any remaining survivors, while drones captured every angle for intelligence and broadcast. The footage would soon spread worldwide, showing the scale of destruction. At 5 a.m., the message rang out the battle was over, but its implications were just beginning. The cartel had believed that sheer numbers, thousands of fighters and vehicles, could overwhelm a disciplined military. Instead, the desert proved the opposite. Precision planning and cutting-edge technology transformed that mass into chaos and chaos into wreckage. What the cartel had believed to be a show of strength became their greatest defeat. For Washington, the operation was a powerful validation. The kill zone had functioned exactly as intended, proving that American forces could obliterate even the largest armored threats in a matter of hours. For the cartel, it was a stark warning: no amount of numbers or reckless assaults could ever stand against modern firepower. The escaped survivors carried that message with them. As the first light of morning spread across the desert, it revealed the full scale of the victory. Thick columns of black smoke rose into the sky, visible for miles. Scattered survivors stumbled through the dunes, relentlessly pursued by patrolling drones. American units stood firm, armored vehicles aligned in formation, weapons at the ready for any potential next fight. The battlefield was theirs. The convoy was gone. The message to the world was undeniable. This was not just a skirmish, it was a demonstration. Against overwhelming planning, precision, and coordination, no force built on chaos could ever prevail. The desert had spoken, and its message was clear: try once and there would be no second chance. The fierce battle under the Mexican desert sky teaches us that brute force and sheer numbers cannot overcome meticulous preparation and precise coordination. The cartel's convoy, though formidable with thousands of vehicles, collapsed under the weight of the U.S.'s carefully planned kill zone tactics. The lesson is clear: in any challenge, whether on the battlefield or in everyday life, disciplined planning and the smart use of technology are what make the difference. Success doesn't come from blind strength, but from readiness, strategy, and thoughtful execution. As dawn broke over the northern Mexican desert, thick black smoke rose from thousands of burning wreckage piles, signaling the complete collapse of the cartel's once mighty convoy. This battle was not just an overwhelming American victory, but a stark warning: no force relying on chaos can stand against coordinated, precise firepower. What do you think of this kill zone tactic? Will the cartel dare to confront again? Or is this the end of their ambitions? Leave a comment below, share your thoughts on this fierce battle, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more thrilling battlefield stories.